Hello, my name is James and welcome to Mere Domains. And this is the best of the decade countdown. And what we're doing here, this is part of a playlist where we're getting ready for the end of the decade best of list. And this started on Monday where I set out that everybody's doing their best of the year lists here at the end of the year, and it's also the end of the decade, so people are probably going to do the best of the decade. And I started going through, making my list, and I felt like, well, I'm going through it. I might as well share it with you guys too, You're going to be kind of curious to see how I'm whittling it down, and what's going to happen is that I'm going to take the best 3 movies of each year and the worst 2 movies of each year to help create the list that I will whittle down to the best 10 and best, and the 10 worst. And of course, you'll be able to vote on these in the cards above. I'll put a little poll up there. Who knows how long it'll last? I'm going to try to do 2 a week here of these types of videos until it's all done, until we're up to 2019, and we will try to wrap things up for the best of the decade countdown. So this is the recap and review for movies that were released during 2011. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a quick little web page here that will just show me some of the posters and the actual release dates. So we start right here. I apologize too, because this page has some ads, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. I don't think you guys are worrying too much about that. January 7th, Season of the Witch, Nicolas Cage, never saw it. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm just going to highlight what jumps out at me and what, for good and for bad. The Green Hornet, Seth Rogen. I fell asleep during that in the theater. Now, I was tired that day, but I didn't find it to be all that funny, and that's kind of a bummer. The Company Men. Did I see that? I don't think so. The Way Back. Oh, sorry, no, not The Way Back. The Way Back. That one was interesting. Very small film that a lot of people missed. Saoirse Ronan was in that? Interesting. It's just about a movie about a bunch of prisoners that escape, and then they got to walk across a huge landscape to get to their freedom. Ed Harris. Colin Farrell was in that too. Very interesting film. It's not on my best list. Continue on down. IP Man 2, Donnie Yen, always cool. I like that. The Right was it was like an exorcism film. Not very good. The Mechanic, Statham. No. Sanctum. That was an underwater film, right? Nah. Nothing there. Bieber. Justin Bieber may be on the worst list for a lot of people. For me, I didn't watch that stuff, and I don't really classify them as movies. Adam Sandler, Just Go With It. I think that was probably one of the last funny ones that I really enjoyed from him. And then he started his Netflix run, which just kind of went downhill for me. The Eagle. Did I know that? Alvin and the Chipmunks. Nothing. Big Mama's House. Is that going to be on people's worst list? Yeah, Martin Lawrence. I don't know what he was thinking. I Am Number 4. A very curious sci-fi film. Not worth talking about. It's kind of like, okay. Unknown. Liam Neeson. This is also, he did Taken and stuff like this. And this is where he was starting to really release a lot of these movies in the January, February era. And I felt like Unknown was a fairly good film. And he's known for that. He comes out with these nice little films that'll go on the best list so far. Will it be in the top 3? Probably not, but it's a nice little action film. I wouldn't take it for much more than that. Drive Angry. That's going to be a guilty pleasure for a lot of people. Nicolas Cage goes over the top with his, he's trying to escape from hell or something like that, and there's a demon after him. It's cheeky. It's funny. Hall Pass. Never saw it. Yeah. Adjustment Bureau. Now that was interesting because it had Emily Blunt. It was kind of bland though. It was trying to be like edgy, Matrix edgy, and it just wasn't. It fell flat. Beastly I saw. Beastly was okay. It's a different take of the Beauty and the Beast story, but it was updated and it was sort of meh. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. It may be on some people's worst list. Not for me. Red State, Kevin Smith. Again, he was trying out the horror genre. It was supposed to be this horror, but it's more like a dramatic, weird, just drama, thriller. With the thriller being that you don't know exactly what's happening. It could have end of world scenario. It just, it didn't work for me. It was very, very dry, I felt. Oh, okay. This is going to be on the worst list of the year for sure. Battle Los Angeles. Bad marketing. And I was kind of interested with it because it was like our modern day military fighting aliens that have actually come down. And I was kind of curious to see that play out, but it just wasn't executed all that well. And it's just kind of like, blah. Yeah, that's not good. And I recently tried to rewatch it on Netflix, but then I found myself going, fast forward. It's terrible. It was a bad film. Which is a bummer because I like the premise. Elektra. Okay, now that may be on people's best, but it's going to be also on people's worst. This was a spin-off from Daredevil? Yeah, that one. I'm not going to rant on about that. Jane Eyre, Red Riding Hood, Gary Oldman, and, I forgot the actress. Amanda Seyfried, right? Not that memorable. Limitless. Interesting. Is that on my best list? About a guy who takes a pill and it unlocks his brain. That's back when you thought that people only use 10% of their brain, kind of storyline that was now grotesquely outdated. Paul was a comedy about an alien. Seth Rogen, meh, no. Lincoln Lawyer, yeah. That one was kind of good. I don't know if it's the best time of the year, but best of the year, but no. Continue on down. Suck. Oh, Sucker Punch. Now, this is something that we need to talk about because this one will end up on a lot of people's worst list. And I can understand why. This was Zack Snyder and his vision that he said, hey guys, check this out. This is going to be cool. I got this thing in the back of my mind. I really want to show you what I can do with these girls. And it just turned out kind of blah. Now, it's going to be on my notable list. It's not going to be on my best list, but I have to talk about it because the visuals are impressive. I like the costuming and I like what they were shooting for. It just didn't land, It didn't have a good landing place where you're just kind of like, oh, I can absorb that. Instead it had that kind of like, appeal. And I can understand that. So yeah, that'll be on one of the worst. Insidious. That's going to be on one of the best of the year because that was a horror movie. Was it James Wan? What a film. That took people by surprise in April. You never expected a movie like this to blow people away because it had its jump scares. It was a fun time at the movies too. When I went to see it, it was packed. I think people were freaked out by it because people were screaming in the theater, and it was fun because you would hear somebody go, in the theater from the scare, but then everybody would laugh about it afterwards because it got them. This movie got a lot of people. It just has that creep factor to it. That's going to be on one of the best of the year. Source Code is not going to be on the best list of the year. That's an interesting movie with, who's that? Is that Shia LaBeouf? No, it's Jake Gyllenhaal. That's right. Very interesting film. It's like a sci-fi timepiece. I'll put that on the best of the year list so far. Super underrated film. I think a lot of people will find that as kind of like a kick-ass knockoff, but it's really not. It's kind of a lot more edgier than you would think it. It's not on the best list of the year, so I'm not going to talk about it. Hannah, I recognize that. Soul Surfer, I saw. It's about a girl who gets her arm cut off by a shark. She wants to go back in the water anyway. Fine, so be it. Your Highness. That one had some laughs, but it's really weird. They take it to the weird point too far, too many times. Natalie Portman, of course, is obviously beautiful in that. Scream 4. Is that one of the best? No, but I liked it. I liked it enough to say that it's not on the worst list for sure. Continue on down. Legend of the Fist. Did I see that? No. The Bang Bang Club. Water for Elephants. Acting wise, that's going to be Robert Pattinson and Reese Witherspoon. Cinematography was good, but the overall story was flat. It was bland. It didn't work for me. Let's continue on down here. Fast Five. That's going to be on one of the best list. Fast Five. I was done sort of with the Fast and Furious movies. And Fast Five trailers actually caught me by surprise. I went out to the theater because it had The Rock in it. It's going to be like The Rock versus Vin Diesel. That worked. And it worked for that film and the next film. And then it just, you sort of saw the gimmick. And for me, it's declined ever since. So Fast Five is definitely going to be on the best list of the years. For sure. Robin Hood's going to be on the worst for some people. Robin Hood just fell flat. That's Ridley Scott. I don't know what they were thinking. They were going for a realistic take to show how he became Robin of the Hood. You know, I was just going, The Cave. Do I know that one? The Cave. Is that Piper Baraboo? I like her. I can't see the poster there. The Beaver I heard was terrible. Thor. First one. Kenneth Branagh directed. Now this one was kind of, doesn't fit very well into the MCU now, if you think about it, because they really used a lot of the blonde dye for his hair. That doesn't hold up, obviously. But I liked it. It's that'll be on the best of the year list for sure. Bridesmaids. And this is where a lot of people are going to hit me for thumbs down. This will be a lot of people's one of the best of the year. It was sold to me as a comedy. It's one of the funniest things you've ever seen, James. It's one of the funniest things you've ever seen. So, that was my expectation going in. And it's much more of a drama than I felt than a comedy. And while it does have funny moments, mostly from Melissa McCarthy, I found it much more interesting to deal with this main character by Kirsten Wiig, who obviously has a detached view from reality. She's having trouble relating to people. There was some serious dramatic stuff they could have dealt with there. And I felt like that took more of an interesting factor than what the lame comedy was. Because, there was something there that could have been something really, really awesome. And people just latched onto the comedy and it kind of turned their brains off to the more serious subject matter. So for me, I can't put that on my best list. But it's not on my worst. Continuing down, Midnight in Paris, Woody, no, not going to mention him. Pirates of the Caribbean 4. I fell asleep in that one too. Wow. Yeah, that's going to be on the worst list of the year. Hangover 2. Yeah, that's when we realized that they're taking too many kicks at the can. It didn't work. Tree of Life. That one will be not on people's best. Maybe if you're like an artsy kind of person. I don't think that it is going to end up on the worst list for sure. It's just an artistic film and visually it's stunning. Ooh! The Town. Ben Affleck. That's going to be on the best list of the year. Ben Affleck. Wow. This was, people say Gone Baby Gone, but this one was the one that made me go, yeah. Jeremy Renner, as his brother in this, has a really great performance. It's something that you just got to see. The Town is like bank robbers. He's sort of got a conscience. He falls in love with somebody. It's a familiar story, but it's cool in its execution. And if you're from Boston, X-Men First Class, and that's going to be on the best of the year list for sure because it's a reboot. I felt like we didn't know what we were going to expect from this one, but Kevin Bacon he was good as the bad guy, and James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender in the lead roles as Magneto and Professor X. And of course, Jennifer Lawrence. My second love. I wish, X-Men First Class. That's on the best of the year. Super 8. Now that's going to be on people's worst list of the year. J.J. Abrams tried his own material out here, obviously drawn from a lot of influences from the 80s. I liked it. I thought it was okay. People say that it's his worst film. I wouldn't go that far. I like what he was shooting for, and I didn't find it all that offensive because I really like the acting in it. The acting is the standout in Super 8. So it's not on my worst list, but I can understand why somebody would. Troll Hunter is a cult classic. A lot of people will like that. A lot of people will put that on their best list. I found the visual effects a little bit jarring, but I'm not going to knock it. Green Lantern, that's going to be on the worst list of the year for sure, because they took a big swing and a miss. And you heard that miss. It went whoosh. A CG suit. I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't know what they were thinking. They were trying to push the envelope and they failed. They should have been able to see the dailies or, the premise of the visual effects and say, nope, we can't do that. It's not going to work. And it didn't work. And it had script issues. I mean, come on. The script was not that good. Ryan Reynolds tried his best to make the best of it, but it was just fell flat. Worst of the year list for Green Lantern for sure. Year 1, wasn't that funny. Quarantine 2, just watch the Rec series. Don't watch Quarantine series. That's all I can say about that. Bad Teacher. I missed this in the theater. And Cameron Diaz, wow, what a beauty. She's beautiful. And I like the story behind this, kind of love story that happens between her and Siegel, right? The gym teacher. I like that. I like this movie. And, it's very raunchy, of course. And it's just got that perfect mix of tones. It's a nice little movie. Cars 2, never saw. Continuing on. Leap year. Raw Faith. Man Who Fell to Earth, David Bowie. Maybe I should go back and revisit that because I do want to pay some respects to Bowie. Continuing on down, Larry Crown, Julia Roberts, Tom Hanks. He goes to a night class taught by Julia Roberts, and they fall in love. Who would have thought that? Transformers 3, Dark of the Moon will be on the worst list of the year for sure because they tried to move the franchise in a little bit of a different direction, but they still didn't understand the Transformers property. Michael Bay, of course, putting all his Bayisms in there, and it just got so cringeworthy. It's on the worst year for sure. Horrible Bosses will be funny for a lot of people, and that'll be on some people's best list if you only like comedies, but it's not for me. Zookeeper, no. Phase 7, no. Harry Potter in the Deathly Hallows, is that part 1? It must be part 1, right? If you're a Harry Potter fan, that'll be on your best list. It's not for me. Captain America, the First Avenger, or just known in the rest of the world, the First Avenger. I like this movie, and I liked it a lot because I like the chemistry between Chris Evans and Haley Atwell. Haley Atwell is a goddess in my books. I think she's one of the most beautiful women on the planet, and I liked their interactions, and I liked the way that they brought in Red Skull and kind of set us up by giving us some of that classic Captain America look, and now gave us the updated version, and of course led into the Avengers. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah, that's on the best list of the year for sure. Attack the Block introduced us to John Boyega. Aliens attack the suburbs in England. It's got some cheesy, questionable effects, but people liked it. It's not on my best or worst list. Cowboys and Aliens, Jon Favreau. Will that end up on the worst list? It's not that good, guys. It wasn't that good. I don't know what was going on with this film because it had a high budget. The visual effects were good. Harrison Ford, Daniel Craig. Middle of the road. Yeah. Not that good. Point blank. Do I know that? Nope. Scrolling down to the Smurfs. That'll be on the worst list for some people. We're almost through this, guys. Rise of the Planet of the Apes will be on the best list for sure. Rise of the Planet of the Apes kicked us off with this new franchise, a revamp. We got to see Andy Serkis work as Caesar. It's just groundbreaking stuff. It was just wow. And Franco was fairly good as his human counterpart. And I liked how they worked in some of the dialogue from the original movie where it's kind of like, get your hands off me, you dirty ape. And the retort to that is just, it's good. What a good franchise overall. A good reboot series. 30 minutes or less. That'll be on the worst list. Final Destination, meh. The Help will be on a lot of people's best list. It's going to be on my best list because it's going to be an award. It was award savvy. It was like Academy friendly, and it just had great performances. It was well written. The dialogue was well done. Bryce Dallas Howard, Emma Stone, Jessica Chastain. I feel like redheads. Oh, wow. Yeah, The Help. It's just a good film, and it makes you feel good at the end. You go through a journey with these women. I liked it a lot. Conan the Barbarian may end up on a lot of people's worst list. I'm not gonna. It was just forgettable. Friday Night, forgettable. Continuing on down. I like Colombiana. Nice little action film. Zoe Saldana. I like that. Higher Ground. Did I see that? Our Idiot Brother never saw it. A good old-fashioned, no, Apollo 18. Oh, was that one where it was like the rocks turned into like these weird, spidery kind of aliens that get into the suit? Yeah, that one was kind of interesting. Smaller, low-budget horror film. That one might be worth checking out. It's not on the best or worst list for sure. Shark Night 3D was going to be my first film that I ever reviewed for YouTube. Yeah. Wow. Huh. Yeah, that one wasn't that good. It wasn't a good film, but it's not terrible enough to be on the worst list. Warrior. Oh. And Contagion. Hold on. Let's go back to Contagion. That's going to be Steven Soderbergh. It was interesting because of the cast. I just didn't like the way that it made me feel afterwards, because it really dealt with a lot of the scummy nature behind some of the politics of trying to quarantine a huge virus. Yeah. But moving on to Warrior. Let's just get to Warrior. That's going to be on the best list for sure. Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, MMA fighting. One of the brothers is he's got issues. Obviously played by Tom Hardy. The fight scenes in it are well done. It's just one of those films where the ending is just kind of like, well, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it. Warriors are going to be just Nick Nolte too. Nolte? Yeah. Continuing on to Drive. Now that's going to be on people's best list of the year because Nicholas Winding Refn, it had a mixed reaction when it came out because people thought it was going to be like the Fast and the Furious action type movie, but it's much more of a drama, slower paced, kind of not experimental, but artistic. It has a lot of art house feel to it. And if you know that going in, then you will know that what you're getting. I felt like Ryan Gosling was good in it. It's not going to be on my best list, but it's not going to be on my worst. Straw Dogs, that one I almost walked out of the theater because they milked one scene in there where two guys take advantage of a girl too far, obviously, and they milked it and they just kept going on with it. And I was just kind of like, hey, I paid $10. You can show me that it happened to her, but don't linger on it. Yeah, that one got me upset. It got me triggered. Abduction, terrible film. That pretty much proved that Taylor Lautner was not going to have a career outside of the Twilight series. He's not that much of an actor, and he's not going to be, he wasn't that much of a leading man. Moneyball, that's going to be on a lot of people's best list. That one was unexpected. You never knew that Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill were going to have that chemistry, and a lot of people shine to Jonah Hill in that film. Yeah, that's going to be on the best list of the year for sure. 50-50, that's going to be on the best of the list of the year. It's not going to be the number one, but I like the performances in it. Nice little sleeper hit about a guy who gets diagnosed with cancer. His friend is Seth Rogen, and he just tries to make peace with his life where he's at because the possibilities of survival are fairly low for him. Yeah, good performances. Continuing on down. Anything else that jumps out at me? Tucker and Dale, cult classic, a lot of humor in there. These two guys are constantly confused for being like the hillbillies, slack-jawed yokel types that are kind of like, out there to murder people, kind of like in Deliverance, but just get confused with just a series of bad luck things. I'm not going to linger on that. The Way. Did I know The Way? I don't. Ides of March, meh. Real Steel, Hugh Jackman, robots fighting each other. It was okay. Oh, Brooklyn's Finest. Eat, Pray, Love. Meh. Continuing on. The Thing. Remake. Or was it? It's not a remake, guys. It's a prequel. And I like that. That took me by surprise when I saw it. It bleeds directly into The Thing from the 80s, John Carpenter's Thing. And I didn't know it until the very end, because I just thought it was supposed to be a reinterpretation of the older film. But it's a prequel, and they do it fairly well. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And it's got a lot of history going on behind the scenes between using visual CG effects and practical effects. And that documentary, if you can find it, it's very interesting to watch. Maybe even more interesting than the film. Of course, that's Joel Edgerton, right? Yeah. Johnny English Reborn. Yeah, that was funny. Not on the best list. Paranormal Activity 3, that's where you started to realize, yeah, this is going downhill. Three Musketeers is going to be on one of the worst lists of the year because it's just a bunch of pretty boys pretending that they're the Three Musketeers, and it's shot very quickly and the direction was awful. It's terrible. Anonymous. Nope. In Time. Amanda Seyfried and that singer guy. I can't remember his name right now. Not very good. Puss in Boots. The One. Tower Heist. Eddie Murphy. People thought this was going to be his resurgence, but it wasn't. And it was kind of a mediocre film. The Immortals. That was one of the first with Henry Cavill, right? It was just not that good. 11-11-11. I think I saw that one too. Oh, there we go. Jack and Jill is going to be on one of the worst of the list of the year because Adam Sandler dressed up as his twin sister, and they make a whole bunch of just jokes that don't land. That was just, the real point where he thought, like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Come on. You're not that bad. Don't do stuff like that. Unfortunately, he went on and did more stuff like that. J. Edgar will be Academy Award recognized, obviously. I didn't think it was all that memorable. I didn't think it was that great. Melancholia, very interesting. Kind of a weird artistic film about just whatever. Twilight Breaking Dawn will be on one of the worst lists of the year for a lot of people. I recognize what the Twilight series was. I didn't say that it was one of the worst films of the year because it was an easy thing to jump on the bandwagon for the hate. And I just watched it and I was like, yeah, this is for teens. This is not for me. This is for, the adolescent crowd. It may work for them. It's not a very well-composed film. I don't find the acting all that good. Which people say, well, Robert Pattinson is one of the better actors working today. This doesn't really prove any of that, and neither for Kristen Stewart. I just felt like all right, that's enough. The Descendants catches my eye. The Descendants is going to be on one of the best of the year because George Clooney, again, working in these smaller, dialed-back performances, like I said last year for 2010. What was it, The American? Just a small performance, and it just resonates with you. It's about a guy who finds out that his ex-wife or his wife was cheating on him, but his wife is in a coma and they've got to make a decision to keep her alive or pull the plug. And it's kind of like a heartbreaking ending, and he does a great performance. It introduced many people to Shailene Woodley, who was a standout in the film for sure. She was a really good job in that film. You guys should check out The Descendants. It's a remarkable film. Hugo will be recognized by a lot of people for its artistic flair. I didn't think it didn't land for me. It was kind of like trying to pay tribute to older classic films. We're almost there, guys. One more month. A Dangerous Method. If you want to see Keira Knightley, and some weird provocative scenes. You may want to see that. The Muppets. The Artist. That's going to be a lot of people's best movie of the year. It was Academy recognized. I felt like it was a silent film. It was artistic, very art house. It was in the golden age of when, like, the dinosaurs were trying to hold on to, like, the last gasp of the older Hollywood era. And I would have never even put it close to being the best movie of the year. It's just disrespectful in this day and age when you got color, when you got sound, dialogue, and you want to throw back to that, that's fine, but don't recognize it for being better than anything that we can produce today. A bit controversial, so I'm not going to dwell on that. My Week with Marilyn. A lot of people like that movie. We Bought a Zoo. Matt Damon. Meh. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. Shame. A Shame. Yeah, not a shame, but Shame. Steve McQueen. Fassbender. Michael Fassbender. he goes full Fassbender with this. Hey, if you want to see Fassbender, and you'll want to watch that film. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Very boring, but Gary Oldman was good in it. Young adult, Charlize Theron was very good in that. But it wasn't groundbreaking or anything. Mission Impossible 4. That one is like Tom Cruise taking his stunt work up to the next level. Really, to the point where you recognize that, he's on board here. He wants to showcase these scenes, these sequences, and a lot of people got on board with it. I thought it was actually it was okay. It wasn't my favorite one. But that one really took the Mission Impossible franchise in a new direction, and a lot of people are liking it. So, Sherlock Holmes 2. Moriarty came into the picture. Meh. It didn't really work with me because I felt like he should have had more of a rivalry, and it's just kind of fizzled out. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. American remake, with Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara. What a beautiful, beautiful woman. And I was happy to see her in this role, Lisbeth Salander. I felt like she was perfect for it. I really wish that they continued the series with her. But Daniel Craig wanted more money to appear in the sequel, and it was kind of like, the movie was marginally profitable. David Fincher, great director, great direction. And it just, it didn't see the box office returns that they were hoping. They couldn't pay Daniel Craig the money that he wanted because it just didn't make money, financial sense, money-wise, which is a shame because, as I said, Rooney Mara is the best part. Soundtracks by Trent Reznor. It was a good film. Dark, very, very dark. Extremely loud and incredible. 9/11 film, Tom Hanks. Still too fresh for me. It was too fresh for me at this time. It was still 10 years away, but still, I didn't know. Warhorse, Spielberg, beautifully shot film, beautiful cinematography. And that's pretty much all I can say about it. It wasn't that memorable. The Iron Lady, of course, acting from Meryl Streep was good in it, but it was much more of a darker take on her. That's it. 2011. That's all I can pretty much say for the year. Let's just take a look at my spreadsheet here quickly to wrap things up. I put everything in the best and worst list here that I can take a look at. And I'm going to give you my top 3 and my 2 worst. Out of this list, my top 3 would have to be The Descendants, Warrior, and The Help. People could argue with me and say, X-Men First Class should be in there, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I couldn't disagree. But for me, those are my top 3. I'll put a poll for that up in the cards above. What were your top 3 here? Were any of these better for you? Maybe Moneyball. Yeah, it was a pretty good year. As far as the worst of the year, Battle Los Angeles is definitely up there. It's one of the worst of the year. because it has not only the worst movie of the year, but it also has like the worst expectations met. The disappointment behind it is there. One of the worst of the year for 2011. And of course, you got to put Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill is just, oh God. Al Pacino recently said that he liked showing up in bad films because he wanted to try to give them a fighting chance. But you know what, Al? You just couldn't save this one. The producers should have seen the outtakes or the dailies and just said, no, we're shutting it down. This is terrible. An awful idea. One of the most awful monstrosities ever to be put to film. All right, and that's it. That's all for 2011. As we count down now for the best of the decade, pay attention next week. Next Monday, I think we're going to do 2012, and I think that'll be another good year to take a look at. Let me know if you like this format. Let me know in the comments what were your best and what were your worst. That's it. YouTube is recommending a video for you to watch right there, and you can see my latest one just right up here. My name is James, and you're watching Mirror Domains. If you've liked what you've seen, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe.